All right, hey guys, Jason here. We're back out here. We just got done doing a huge loop scouting. We are 4 days away from deer season getting here. I'm very excited for it. And we're going to do another traditional bow hunting misconceptions. Another video on this for you real quick here before we get going and head home. And that is going to be, what we're going to be talking about is about you think, at the moment of truth, you think that it's your control, but it's really not. I don't know how else to really word that. It'll probably make sense more as we talk about it, but everybody seems to think that they can practice really hard and shoot a lot and get all this stuff dialed in, and you have to. That's very important, don't get me wrong. But we hear it all the time. Oh, I would have killed that deer. Oh, it's in the bag. Oh, if I wanted that one, I could have shot him. I could have shot 5 does all day. I could have this, oh, this thing. Oh, when he steps over here, he's done. I've done it myself many times. If you were in my, obviously, well, this is my regular channel. If you're in my Patreon channel, you've seen me many times, on my Patreon hunts. Even this year, last year that happened, you watched me with that 10 point. I think it was 8 or 10 point come by. I'm like, I got him right here. It's going to be right here. He's done. As soon as he gets here, I'm going to shoot him. Here he comes, walking by, right there, 10 yards. Boom. What? Right over his back, just like that. It's like, what just happened? How did that happen? The point is, we think that when a deer is in range, because we shoot good, we own that deer. We think that it's a done deal. That's the misconception. Nothing is done and finalized until the deer is on the ground and you are standing over top of it. Until then, there are so many variables that you cannot control, yet you think you can control. You think that you can shoot accurate means something. Your accurate shooting doesn't mean crap. I don't mean that bad, but we have seen it so many times, and even people that don't understand it that's happening to them, watch them. When you're watching YouTube and you see a guy and he's sitting there and he's got his GoPro on, he's got his camera arm, and he's ready to shoot that deer, and that deer's there, and he stops that deer, and then he shoots compound crossbow, whatever, but he shoots that thing, and all of a sudden he shoots, and that deer goes, oh, like this, and drops down, and he hits it perfect right behind his shoulder, and that deer takes off. He's like, yes, I drilled it. That's exactly, it went perfect. No, he didn't. He failed miserably. Okay, he failed miserably. That deer dropped this far down. He was this low. His shot was this low on that deer, and the deer dropped into it. Now, maybe he knew to aim low. Maybe that was the case. But you see what I'm getting at here is there's so many times that people are not hitting a deer or they're not, their shot location from where the deer is standing there to where the deer is actually at when the arrow impacts, dropped, twist, turn 45 degree, rolled. They'll literally roll away from the shot, and you'll end up getting this where, if you're shooting from the ground, you'll get a reversal. You'll get a low entry and a high exit because they turn to bail. All of these variables come into play and happen so many times. So again, your shot accuracy, yes, it's very important that you're accurate and you know what you're doing. That is mandatory. Don't misunderstand that. But it doesn't matter as much as you think it does. It matters, but it's out of your control. Okay, there's too many variables. Once you line in and you let go of that string, whoop, and it goes, there is a whole world between that release and that impact that happens. There is a whole nother universe of variables that are going to come into play that you cannot control. And that's just one part of the equation. That's one, okay? And then whatever happens there is what it is. Then there's the recovery part. Everything from, we have heard the stories in the old days of, I thought I went through his lungs, but maybe he was on an exhale, so his lungs were really small. We have heard every excuse. Oh, it went through the void between the spine and the top of the lungs. It slid in between the shoulder, and it didn't go through the ribs and get inside there to get to the lungs. We've heard every reason and excuse for shots that should have been good that ended up in a deer not recovered. Hundreds and hundreds of every possible scenario, and we see it a lot that here's a deer that you thought was hit good that was not recovered for whatever reason, and it happens. It is just the nature of the beast. Sometimes it's going to go wrong, but that is something that is out of your control. You have no control over it. Some deer get found, some deer do not. Most do, fortunately, but some just will not be found for whatever reason. We cannot understand it. And I have seen some things that have been so crazy that it makes zero sense, but for whatever reason, Mother Nature just decided to pick that deer up and take it away, and it's no longer on this planet. You can't find it. It's just not there. So we've seen this stuff happen before. That's another variable you have to deal with. So when you put all of this stuff into consideration, the whole misconception aspect is that you think you're in control of what happens when that deer comes into range. You think it's in the bag. You think it's a done deal. You think everything's done but the crying. Just punch the button and here it goes. Hit your release, boom, boom, and it's done and it's game over. And it's not true. So this year when you're out there and you're hunting, if things go 100% excellent for you every time you let go of that string, fantastic. I 100% hope that's exactly what happens. If you are one of the unfortunate ones where it does not go your way, understand that this is the reality. What can you do? How do you do everything you can to avoid these scenarios? Well, we know that we have basically two options of problems. One, the variables that come into play from the second you release till the arrow hits, what the deer's reaction is, but in that zone, we got this time zone from release to impact right here that we cannot control what's going to happen in, no matter how much we think we can. That is one issue. Second one is what happens when the arrow hits the deer till we recover the deer. Two parts that we cannot control. What can we control? We can control our accuracy at practice by practicing and making sure that we are doing our best to be able to put that arrow where it goes on that animal and be accurate. That is a very, very important one. That's why I told you it's important. Even though it won't matter once you release because of variables, it is important. And I can tell you there have been times that I know from my own shooting that I shot low or I shot left or right, and somehow that deer managed to drop in or turn or do whatever, or hog spun and gave it ended up working in my favor. Okay, it's I'm laughing because one time I watched Tina shoot a hog that was actually quartering away this way, and she was with her compound and she shot boom, on about a 22-yard shot. A guy who owned a property, this is many years ago on a ranch, on a hog ranch, but this deer was this way, and she shot boom, and I'm like, oh no, her arrow's going this way. She's like gonna hit it in the butt, and the hog turned, and she hit it on this side perfectly, right behind the shoulder, and got that hog. But that hog was going this way, and she's like, it's walking this way. She's like, boom, here goes her arrow going this way, and he goes, nope, and he turned and she hit him on that side. So stuff happens, okay? But it is our job to be as accurate as we possibly can to avoid anything like that being wrong. We don't want to gut shoot deer. We don't want to hit them in the butt. We don't want to hit them in the neck. We don't want to have things go wrong. We don't want to do that stuff. We want to be proud of what we're doing and try and put these animals down as ethically as possible. Practicing is the number one way. Number two, most important, get close. I cannot say this one enough. Keep your distances close. You have no business shooting at a deer that is 25 yards away with a traditional bow. With a compound bow, you have no business shooting at a deer that is 30 yards away. I don't care if you believe me, if you like what I say, if you're going to argue with me, if you're going to tell me on how ethics is related to the person's abilities and blah, 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 and how somebody can, Cameron Hayes can shoot a deer at 150 yards, and I don't want to hear it. I don't care. I don't care. My attitude is somebody who's out here all the time, in with animals all the time, knows the variables from the release to the hit, from the hit to the recovery. Knowing that these two variables, the boom and the boom, are the big problem, your best defense of getting that right is to be as close as you can to the animal to minimize the variables that can happen in there. It's my advice for you. It's what I'm thinking about. That's the way I have to say it. So the misconception that you're in control, that just because that deer is in your range, he's done, can't really air quote with it, but done, that he's locked down, that you own him, that you could have killed him, that you had to put him in the freezer. Oh, I let that one walk. He would have been mine. There's so many variables. That's all BS. We know nothing until you actually stand over the animal, and then it's done. Till then, it's a crapshoot of a bunch of variables that you cannot control. Focus on the variables that you can control, use them to your advantage to help mitigate the ones you cannot control. Hope that makes sense. Questions, comments, put them below. Thanks for watching.